Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Right?
No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
The millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby, tell them.
Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Justin Fox, Cody Dray. Cody, thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So, quick intro. So, you are basically you're founder of Import Sports Management. You are an FPHA and a PHPA certified hockey agent. So, I know what PHPA is. What's FPHA? Is that French?
It's the Finnish Player Hockey Association.
Okay. So, I wasn't sure if it was just the French version or okay. So, the other one's Pro Hockey Player Association, right? So you are essentially a hockey agent or player rep, player agent. So welcome to the show. Why don't we just jump right in there? Tell us, I think it's kind of cool. How do you become Jerry Maguire? Is that a good question? That's kind of what you are, right? For people who don't really know, you're kind of a variation of that, right?
I guess. I would say I'm a little bit more of a boring version than Jerry Maguire.
Okay, but that's but he was playing it up for entertainment and on-screen value, right? But tell us a little bit, how do you become a player agent?
How do you become a player agent? To be completely honest, I was playing in Europe myself.
Okay.
Not a crazy level or anything like that, but I just realized that there was a lot of players not being properly represented. So we kind of just hopped in as a bit of a joke, to be honest, at the beginning. Just helping out some buddies and stuff like that, and had a knack for it and just continued to grow, and it's gotten pretty crazy lately.
Okay, so do you play? So obviously, I'm gonna assume with the Finnish kind of aspect, did you play in Finland yourself?
No, I was in Sweden for 2 years.
Okay. So you played over there. What position you play?
I played goalie.
Goalie? Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Nothing wrong with goal. There's a little bit of a different mindset to play goal, but we joke around goalie mentality. But yes, sort of the hack or blocker to the back of the head, and then expect your defenseman to come in and sort of protect you, right? That mindset a little bit. But
exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so it got a little crazy. So how long have you been doing it? You're relatively young. I think you're around 23, 24, 25, somewhere in that range?
I'm 25 now. We started when I was 21, so it's like 3 years going on 4, pretty much going at Christmas, I believe. Okay,
cool. So happy birthday if it's just recent. So tell us a little bit about, so you got into it kind of as a bit of a, just kind of fell into it, like you said, a bit of a joke. Or just kind of helping out some buddies. What exactly does it mean to be? So let's sort of take a step back. When you say they were, I don't know the exact words, but basically underrepresented or not being represented properly, or what does that mean? Because I think I'm going to come from a sports fan's perspective, right? A lot of fans, you see, NBA championship just happened. So you see like the LeBron James and the, these massive contracts, and you're sort of like, okay, well, and they talk about their agents meeting, and, obviously you're assuming the agent's going to take a cut. And so sort of wondering, and then you hear sort of the horror stories, maybe where, I actually just read one recently where, somebody sort of self-represented or whatever. And, they ended up getting, pretty shitty deal where they had very limited, upfront, whatever that means. So what exactly, how does that work? Like how is somebody poorly represented or underrepresented, or like what is the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, I think there's like a big myth that, the agent kind of just takes care of the contract, and then that's just the end of the day. And then, we talk for the next contract.
Right.
There's a lot more that goes into it. It's pretty much, helping and running the player's life. Being a professional athlete in the NBA, the NHL, the MLB, or really any league. There's so many highs and lows, and the highs are super high and the lows are super, super low. So, it's really having someone in your corner. Most of our players, especially at the highest level, like we're in contact, 24/7, know exactly what they're doing in their life. it's basically having someone in your corner at all times, because again, like when you have a job at the grocery store, for instance, you have a bad day, no one knows, no one cares, you go home, you sulk, whatever. If you were playing for the Milwaukee Bucks last night and you have a
Right.
bad game, you get 50,000 tweets saying you suck, blah blah blah. It's a
or
tough
the
game.
other, the Bucks were on the winning side.
Yeah.
If you're on the
Fair.
Sun side, right? Yeah.
Exactly, or
Yeah.
whatever way it goes. But I mean, it's having someone in your corner 24/7 that isn't going to judge, and you have to really build that circle pretty tight when you're at that sort of peak of level. So I mean,
Right.
it's really just being a confidant.
Okay. So you become sort of like the extension. You're almost like, how do I word this? So you're not family, you're not sort of friends, where and I'm trying to tread lightly. Obviously there's, I want to use the word hangers on, right? Where there's, oftentimes people that, maybe will come out of the woodwork that, especially young athlete from, maybe not so affluent back, whatever comes into a lot of money. So you kind of become that go-between, right? And you hear a lot of the horror stories too of, I think this is, I don't know if it's still an issue, but back in the day where, players would, Andre Risner, there's a whole, I think it was on Netflix, maybe, or a movie about like these guys made millions, they're bankrupt at age, 28, 30 after having made millions, right? So, I mean, does that play into it a little bit, like the financial aspect? Like, give me a little bit more around what aspects of their daily life. I mean, nutrition, health, activity. You mentioned emotional, which is obviously sort of psychological. Like, give us sort of, maybe I'm going to lead into a different question. Break down, like, what are some of the things you maybe, if a new client comes to you, like, what are some of the things that you're going to start to implement in their lives to kind of get them on track?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of component. It's, making sure they have the right diet plans, the right workouts, the right coaches, the right skills coaches, the right, therapists, sports therapists, all that sort of good stuff, as well as, maybe booking flights for the family, putting them in touch with the right real estate agent in the right city, the right accountants, the right bookies, or bookkeepers, stuff like that.
So say bookies, no bookies, right? Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
No bookies, yeah.
More like bookkeepers, stuff like
right.
that. But
okay,
it's really doing everything. Like, I've heard guys in other companies that also do, set up birthday parties and stuff for their players. Like, it really depends on what you want to do, but it's becoming that right hand man.
So it's all, I mean, not, you said it, right hand man, and that's a good term. I was going to say sort of like almost like a fine line between sort of agent and sort of like personal rep, personal kind of, I won't say assistant, but like, kind of like that manager, like that business manager, right? And almost personal manager. Is there, I mean, you're young, you're newer in the industry. Like, do you kind of have the awareness of maybe what the industry, I mean, we joked about Jerry Maguire, that movie's probably 20 years old at this point, right? But like, is there, and I mean, there's probably other depictions of this industry, but it always just kind of comes to mind. But is there maybe a change or like an evolution of where, maybe 30 years ago, it was just like contractual based and, maybe just sort of the lawyer aspect, whereas now it's kind of morphed? Like, where do you see that? Is there a line even now where between sort of like personal manager and business manager, or like where do you see that in sort of the evolution of the industry?
I think the role has changed dramatically in the last 20 years, just looking at, who's come, who's go. Where, like you said, maybe it was just contracts and stuff 20 years ago, but now the business has become so competitive where you have to offer the other services. You have to be there for, a full service experience to be able to compete. Also it's the role is starting to change a lot, where I think the young guys like myself have the advantage where, the 50, 60-year-old agents now kind of at the top, I mean, they don't understand the social media aspect, the pressures of the internet, the expectations of holding yourself to a high pedestal and being a good citizen. Right. Exactly. Right. I feel like we kind of have the advantage on that, but that's a big part to play. I mean, you see a lot of unfortunately athletes and stuff making bad mistakes or critical errors, and it costs them everything. So I mean, that's something that we try to make sure all of our players have counseling, stuff like that, the right resources to make sure that not only are you a good hockey player, but also more importantly, a better citizen, a better person off this as well.
Right. Yeah, I think one bad tweet or misspoken interview can be have some some significant I guess implications on the on your career, right? Which I mean, I'm not even going to get into like other aspects, but yeah, obviously you want to, those are totally separate. So let's go into, I'm going to go slightly different direction. I want to ask a little bit about sort of your background, your hockey playing career and stuff like that as well. But I'm gonna ask you, I'm not trying to, what's kind of your, give me your almost like fire putting out kind of like, what do you do? Like crisis happens. I know obviously we just talked about crisis prevention, right? But like, what's kind of like, do you have like almost a, like stop, drop and roll kind of like, checklist of what you do in a crisis moment? Or like, how would you, I'm trying to think what the term is, like, you've got your what's the term in business? I should know this, but basically you're sort of your crisis control mechanism. Do you have like a way that you guys deal with something like that if it comes up? That was a long question, a long way of asking a very simple question. But yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I'm very blessed to have a very good team around me at the same time, where I really do believe that it has to be a group collective, especially in certain situations where I feel like everyone that works with us kind of brings a different element to it, which makes it much, much easier to put out a fire or, in a crisis moment. So that would kind of be my answer, is just, really go to the team, just because, again, it's worked every time so far.
So that's a good question. How many people, so if you have a pro athlete, like how many people would be part of sort of their team? I mean, obviously you spearhead it, but you're mentioning the team, like how many people give it? I mean, I won't go sort of LeBron James has, but let's say an average, NHL player, pro hockey players association player, guy maybe making, $1 or $2 million a year, a couple million, sort of second or third line type guy, right? What kind of team do you guys put forth to support that person or girl, guy or girl? I guess we'll throw the whole female aspect in there as well, right?
100%. I mean, the National Women's Hockey League is growing amazingly right now. It's a lot of fun to watch, but I would say it would be, an agent or two, one dealing with the contracts, one kind of dealing with the day-to-day life and stuff like that. And then plus you have again, every player will need an accountant. Every player is going to need a lawyer. Every player is going to need, a skills coach, all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, it's quite the crew of people.
Okay. So you're looking at, like you said, maybe between 2 to 5 sort of people on average that kind of manage stuff. And I mean, just out of curiosity, how many agents do you guys have at Import Sports Management? Like, what's your team, the size of your team right now?
We have 6 right now, and then we have, a handful more of scouts and stuff like that.
Okay,
but
cool.
It's 6 right now, yeah.
And you're based in Ottawa, and are they kind of spread out across sort of Canada and North America, or are they all primarily Ottawa based?
So I'm in Ottawa. Adrian, my partner, he's in Toronto, but also splits time in Gothenburg in Sweden during the season.
Okay.
And then we have Brampton, then we have Victoria, Vancouver, and I believe all the way Boston.
All the way West Coast. There you go, a little West Coast representation. Nice. How about any Seattle Kraken players you guys gonna start representing?
No, I wish.
That's
gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, I am 90% sold on switching my allegiance and loyalty to the Kraken. I'm ready to get Kraken, and I'll use all the puns and let out the Kraken. But I'm gonna ask you, who do you think they're gonna pick? If you could, let's go 10 guys. I mean, we all saw the list that came out there of who's kind of exposed. Let's do an agent kind of just for fun, knowing who's at UFA, who probably won't, or maybe who they can get bargaining pieces with. Who do you think they're gonna pick? Give me 5 names.
Give me 5 names. Good question. I honestly don't know. I mean, I would have to look heavy at the list because I really haven't.
Okay.
But I'd say the number one thing that I've been watching as a Montreal fan is Carey Price
Carey
going to
Price,
go? And
yeah.
it's hard to believe that they would take him, knowing that they're going to owe him $13 million in September. But at the same time, as a Habs fan, I have a very unorthodox opinion where I kind of hope that they do take him, just because the short term is going to suck. But with that contract long term, with lingering injuries and him getting a little bit older, I think it would be best case scenario from my hockey opinion. But I mean, obviously that doesn't matter much. But
Okay, so Carey Price. Okay, so I mean, for me, some of the guys, I think Landeskog. I don't think Ovi goes, because I think you've got he's not going to play. He said Washington or Russia, right? So I think Price is an option. I think Jonathan Quick would be the other option in net. Niederreiter is also sort of in there. You've got guys like Yanni Gourde or Tyler Johnson. Some of them, literally Tampa's exposed like 8 guys that if they could just take all Tampa guys, it'd be pretty awesome, right? But I think the other guy was Yanni Gourde and Andre Pallet. So like there's a few guys there. Obviously, I said Landeskog, Vladimir Tarasenko. Even if he doesn't sign, like I think there'd be a trade chip that they could kind of figure out. That I think they're gonna have, like I think similar to Vegas, Seattle's gonna have a pretty solid core group of guys that are gonna step on the Max Domi, former Hab, that I think he's been exposed. There's a couple other guys, but I think they're gonna have a really solid core group of maybe some younger guys and some quality veterans that some of the teams that maybe we're fans of have struggled over the years. That if they could just flip a switch back in the day and be like, hey, we've got 8 guys that are former all-stars and captains on our team, it'd be kind of cool. But I think it's exciting to see what Seattle does. I'm going to throw in a bias question. Are you familiar with the 3HL at all? Have you come across it?
Is that the 3-on-3 professionally? I
Yes.
have heard it.
Yes, I founded it, by the way, but that's just besides the point. But what are your thoughts on 3-on-3? I guess that was a shameless plug for myself. Don't normally do it because this is actually about more to do with backers. But what are your thoughts on 3-on-3 and overtime, and 3-on-3 in general?
I think it's very fun to watch. I mean, it's always very entertaining when they go to playoffs and you see, the speed, you see the real talent come out of all the guys.
Right.
As a goalie, I don't know if I'd want to play the 3-on-3 because I get ripped apart extra hard. But as a fan, as someone watching, very, very entertaining.
Surprisingly, we played about 15 events. We had guys, all the way up sort of the highest level, guys that played in the NHL, about 30 or so guys played in the 3HL that were sort of in their early 30s, late 20s that had NHL experience. Surprisingly, goalies were very good, right? And I don't mean that in a negative way. That came out weird. Goalies made some very surprising saves, right? And I asked a number of goalies why they thought that happened or why they thought that was. The biggest thing that they said was, so when you have 5-on-5, right, you've got obviously 10 guys sort of out there in front of you. And so there's, from an offensive standpoint, there's 4 other people they could pass to, right? And so you're sort of positioning obviously for the shot, but you're also positioning for the pass and or ricochet or so there's a lot of kind of action in front of you, if you will. Whereas 3-on-3, when it's sort of a 2-on-1 or even a 3-on-1 or a 3-on-2, there's really only 2 options where they can pass, right? And so you see goalies doing kind of like a post to post, sort of one side or the other, like sprawling save, because they know that they can do that because they know it's going to this other guy. It's not going back here or So there were a lot of spectacular kind of like flashy side to side type saves. So yes, it was high scoring, and yes, you might get a little bit of sunburn on the back of your neck. A little red light Rastico, throw in a little Habs reference. Yeah, it is. The goalies did fare quite well, so it is quite exciting. Now let's go back to your experience. Go ahead. Sorry, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, with the restrictions being lifted here, is there going to be any tournaments this summer?
Yeah. This fall. We're bringing back the season 3 in fall, sort of October, November. So we're just in preparations with some of the management, I guess, of the league. We've got now 5 ownership groups that have stepped up to bring teams into the league. So it's a different concept. We're trying to combine kind of like March Madness, the PGA Tour. I like the Titleist hat you got. PGA Tour kind of like tour format. So it'd be more of like tournaments. So every weekend you'd have anywhere between 8 and 64 teams show up, and it's single elimination, 15-minute games. Winner moves on, loser's done, and then there's a cash purse. So every week you show up to a new venue, new location, just like PGA Tour. So you show up, you got your teams, you compete, you win some money. You don't win any money. So it's kind of, so we're going to tour around. So we've got, like I said, about 6 team ownership groups now. We're kind of pushing out there. So let's talk a little bit about you though, and your playing experience. So I'm assuming you grew up in Ottawa. You're from Ottawa area.
I grew up in Ottawa. Yeah.
Okay. So so tell us a little bit. I mean, this is actually, we'll shift gears a little bit because I think this might be interesting. So growing up playing, what was it like growing up and playing hockey at a high level? Or give us sort of just like your brief history of your playing career, because I think it's interesting to sort of hear.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I never really played that high of a level, at least in my opinion. I played the Junior B here in Ottawa. I went up to, I think it was Sturgeon Falls for their like independent Junior A league, which wasn't super strong or anything like that.
Okay.
But there was a lot of European guys and stuff on the team, so it opened up a lot of opportunities to go overseas.
Okay, cool.
With their local teams and stuff like that. So it was perfect. But I really enjoyed Sweden. I really enjoyed, the lifestyle there. And
how long were you
like
there for?
It was 2 seasons.
2 seasons? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I feel like I grew up quite a bit there. Kind of being on my own at 20 years old across the world was, quite the experience. Yeah. But I think it did me extremely well.
Do you speak any Swedish?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not at all. Interesting. That's okay. That's cool. So I mean, you got a chance to go. So for those who are not familiar, this is kind of why I wanted to kind of get through your backstory. Is for those that are not familiar with hockey and sports in general, there are a lot of tiers, right, in sports, right? So especially growing up, you've got, I mean, I grew up in Toronto, you've got, A, AA, AAA, right? And then, maybe rep or whatever. And then you've got, like you said, Junior A, OHL, Junior B, maybe even like a Junior C, or, depending on where you are. And then you get into pro, there's tons of levels of pro, right? Even in North America, you've got all kinds of different pro leagues. So tell us a little bit about like, what's it like as a player agent, obviously representing players at all levels, and sort of where it all fits in your own sort of broader perspective, I guess.
I think we have a very interesting story because we started, when we were starting out helping my buddies and stuff like that, we were literally doing contracts that weren't earning cash, which is crazy to think. But like, you look at the bigger agencies now, you have the Newport Sports, you have the CAAs, they're kind of like, the head honchos of everything. They only have ever dealt with the top tier level.
Right.
So, I mean, I think, again, one of our strong suits is we're familiar with everything, top to bottom. We understand all the leagues where, those guys probably don't because they never had to. So it's a pretty unique story that we could literally say that we started from the ground up in terms of
start from the bottom. Now you're here. little Drake reference.
Sorta.
Yeah.
Sort of, I guess. But slowly working our way up there. But it's been a super fun ride, and it's very interesting to see how every step you take, it gets a little bit more professional, and things get more real for the player, and it's super interesting and super fun to watch a guy make that jump, and he's one step closer to where he wants to be, and it's just a fun journey.
Cool. I was just thinking as you were saying that we should connect too offline here and get some of your guys out on the 3HL tour as well, get them playing some 3-on-3 pro. So we should keep that connection. Well, we'll end it here. Cody, really appreciate you joining me here. Where can people, I guess, where can they find you? Where I mean, obviously we're connected on LinkedIn. Where can people find you? Import Sports. Do you guys have a website or social media, or where do they find you?
It's importsports.ca.
Okay.
Just a simple Google search of import sports. I'm sure it'll show up.
Okay. And do you guys do social at all? I mean, aside from yourself, LinkedIn?
We have Instagram. I think it's importsports.ca. The website handle is our Instagram handle. And then I think all my handles are ISM Cody.
ISM Cody? Okay, cool. Just out of curiosity, do you do any scouting, writing, reporting like on players and stuff where people can sort of find stuff if they're looking at maybe, like, I guess the question I'm trying to get at is if somebody's looking to hire, or it's not recruit, what would it be, recruit or hire or like scout some of your players, like how would they kind of get in contact or find out information about your players? Is that on your website?
All of our notes and stuff on players are all kind of like internal in our little database or whatever, but all the teams kind of getting in touch, like it's just through all the databases and stuff, like everybody kind of talks to everybody.
Okay. So I mean, if somebody was looking to bring players, so I guess this is I should ask this question. Do you normally approach teams with players, or is it vice versa? Like what's sort of or both, I guess?
It's a little bit of half and half. Some teams we have to reach out to because now they have a new coach that came in that we don't know. And then there's people that, we've worked with over the years that will come back to us every single time. It's pretty much 50-50, to be honest.
Okay, cool. Well, Cody, I really appreciate you joining me here. We definitely got to get some of your players on the 3HL as well. We'll get them in some of the teams, and so you can work with our management and team owners and all the fun stuff. So appreciate you joining me here. Stay safe in Ottawa, and everyone else, this is One Take powered by Backers. Justin Fox, Cody Dray. I will see you guys again very soon. Hey there, welcome to One Take powered by Backers.
Right? No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
And the millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby, tell 'em.